Okay, welcome to my final review of the last episode of Muteking. I'm Buster Green, and I have reviewed every single episode of the new 2021 Muteking, with the exception of I kind of glossed over the first 3 episodes as like one review. Anyway, long story short, let's do the last episode. So, we start off with no cold opening this time. We just go straight into the opening. I'm gonna miss the opening. If nothing else, the show really nailed its intro and its outro, and I felt like the intro was kind of changing of the series. But I think it was really just so rich in texture that it looked kind of different, and I saw some different stuff in it in every episode. I mean, fuck, half the time it was so over-textured it wouldn't even load right on my TV. So, the last episode starts with Muteking Black coming out, and he stands down against DJ Muteking. And then he starts going into some weird yoga poses, which I guess the CEO was always like super into. Then we flip over to the UFO kids, who are totally fine even though their UFO crashed. Muteking Black continues posing, and I guess as he's posing, he's somehow controlling this massive storm of evil energy. Finally, he blasts Muteking with a seemingly harmless laser death ray, or should I say, more of a pushy light beam. So then he shoots Vivi with the pushy light beam and blows her out of the battlesphere, who, as I predicted, has recovered from her injuries between episodes again. So the kids greet her and fix her up some more, and then the extras in the tower all fall down the stairs because of an earthquake maybe. And then the antenna that Georgie put on top of the tower gets overloaded and seemingly melts off. So then San Francisco continues to further degrade. At this point, all the buildings melt and all the plants melt, and just the full city is reduced to a fucking hole in the ground. That's just a massive swamp of death. Finally, Muteking and DJ decide to get their shit together and summon Muteking. So we get the first full henshin sequence for what feels like the first time in a long couple of episodes, maybe even since episode 1. And then finally we get the final battle, Muteking versus Muteking Black. But DJ doesn't turn into his Octoforce form because his boombox is broken and there's no music. So Muteking guards against Black Muteking's attacks, which have been established as pretty much just annoying and not actually harmful. So then the UFO kids get their UFO back in the air, but they completely overdo it and shoot straight into space, where they can see that the Earth is dying from the CEO's non-stop attacks of black crap, and then they boomerang back around and crash into the Earth. Finally, they trigger the disco ball that Vivi left to them, and they fully crash their UFO and parachute out, but then the parachutes fail and send them crashing back towards the CEO's tower again. The CEO's tower is being overflown with the dead bodies from the corpse blender, and it continues to fill and fill with an atrocious amount of corpse smoothie, which is now just overflowing from the additional mass of the San Francisco buildings and plants. The UFO kids crash right in front of Vivi and manage to get her the disco ball. She still has a hole in her stomach from the last couple episodes, and the kids demand that she not die, but she has accepted her mortality and is in the process of dying. And she finally gets that heartfelt death sequence that she should have had an episode ago. But I guess it would have been weird to have multiple sad death scenes in the same episode, so they saved it for this one. Anyway, the kids awkwardly shoved the disco ball back into her bleeding stomach hole, and she said, no, the kids were supposed to use it. Anyway, they keep shoving it into her, and it is really disturbing. Meanwhile, the extras continue to not drown in the human corpse sludge. While they continue to be chased around the tower, they roll into balls, and finally, they make it up to the CEO's control room, where his girlfriend and the rest of the ninjas are hiding out at. Meanwhile, back in the final battle, DJ's boombox is dead, and Muteking has fully powered down, back to normal Muteking. The CEO, feeling very cocky, transforms into this strange superhero form. It might be his true Octian form, but it looks super Tokusatsu villain. Honestly, I think the animators just couldn't draw Muteking Black and they were like covering. Anyway, so then he has Muteking, this electric hug of death, by belittling DJ for being a half Octian, half human, and therefore half crappy. Vivi finally revives since the kid shoved a disco ball into her bleeding stomach, and now she seems to be perfectly fine. She extracts the power from the disco ball and compresses it into a baseball, and then, having a final heartfelt flashback to her days as a professional male baseball player, she throws the disco ball to Muteking and DJ, and then, with it gone, she resumes dying. Maybe she's finally gonna die this time. Anyway, meanwhile, the CEO is still trying to kill Muteking, and the disco ball that Vivi threw hits him, and then he lets them go. The extras and the ninjas face off for their final showdown, but then all the ninjas fall into a hole because holy shit, the CEO's girlfriend was actually Muteki's mom in a wig? And not actually an Octian. What the fuck? Does this mean the CEO was doing the dirty with Muteki's mom? Were they actually a couple? Yeah, whatever, that's confusing. Anyway, at this point the disco ball charges up Muteking into Mirror Muteking, his supposed ultimate form. I'm actually super impressed by this. This is a cool and elegant final form, and it differentiates itself severely from a typical Kamen Rider final form or anything like that, since it's mirror based, and honestly the only thing I can think of that's like even tried to do that is like the mirror shield from Zelda, so good one. Good form, Muteking. And then finally the final dance battle commences, and yes, they really did end the show with a ridiculous final dance battle to end all dance battles for the fate of Earth itself. Although I kind of knew this was coming from episode 1, actually seeing it, it's kind of ironic that, you know, all the bad guys up to now were ghosts, so they kind of participated in the dance battles, and he didn't really fight Aurora or anyone else, but seeing it finally play out, it's a little bit stupid. It's kind of cool, but it's mostly stupid. Oh, and apparently now, because of the whole weird Muteki power thing, and how vague it all is, DJ can also turn into Mirror Muteking. So now there's 2 Mirror Mutekings, and the 2 Mirror Mutekings do their funky dance, and San Francisco begins finally reverting back to normal. And then they finally get together and they fry Muteking black with a Kamehameha wave. The CEO sinks into some crazy nightmare version of the theme park he was so dedicated to blowing up. And then he gets trapped in the House of Mirrors in the theme park, and he's too angry to successfully navigate his way through the House of Mirrors. And then he runs into Muteki, but instead of reasoning with him, he gives him this like crappy businessman pitch line about how you can get everything you want in the world if you have proper service. I'm sorry, Karen, do you need to see the manager? But then he descends to a higher layer of mental enlightenment where he sees all the San Francisco hippies, he sees Vivi, he sees Sudaking, he sees Muteki and DJ again, and it seems like they're trying to pull a last second out of nowhere television Evangelion ending to save the CEO's soul. Okay, so the CEO is still up on his shit trying to take over the world, but everyone's like, fuck you, man, fuck that. Everyone just wants to do their own thing. Ruling the world is the essence of being a villain, so how fucking dare you tell anyone what to do with themselves? That is why you are the bad guy. So Muteki and DJ just after that start getting really goofy and dancing around, and finally the CEO gives up, and he's finally fully purified and turns into his weird, deeply suppressed, nerdy 1980s self. And then all the hippies return to San Francisco to celebrate by dancing in the street where they live, because San Francisco has a homeless issue. And so San Francisco was returned to the fully populated, shining gay city by the bay, and roll the credits. Okay, well, that's an ending, but a lot of things seem incomplete in the show. Like, there's a billion things I'm unsatisfied about. Oh wait, here's a nice post-credit scene. Okay, so in the post-credit scene, Muteki returns to the diner again, but it looks completely different now, and everything looks slightly off, including the art style. But Ida is back there again, and the regulars, and what the fuck is this weird art style? And then it just ends after that. Okay. So, that was a really weird, inconclusive anime ending, I gotta say. Now, the only way Muteking even begins to make sense if you do a lot of work behind the scenes and try to connect up all the dots, because so much of the story is not properly explained in the narrative. But I guess if you do a re-examination of it and connect those dots, it sort of makes sense. Like, I guess I need to take some serious, time here and do a bunch of mental gymnastics to connect the dots right now and put everything together. So let's try to figure this one out, everybody. Okay, so original Muteking happens in 1980 and concludes that same year, with the aftermath of that being a massive amount of Octian aliens living amongst human beings, and eventually crossbreeding, resulting in DJ and God knows who else is a half Octian. And for some reason it seems like even though Muteki could barely comprehend the existence of aliens/Octians, his entire family was super on top of them. Best I can figure out with that whole subplot is Muteki's grandmother probably had some kind of deal worked out with the original Muteking, who warned her to dedicate her entire family to fighting aliens forever. And that's how Muteking got the original Muteking badge. His grandma gave it to him because she got it from the first Muteking. I mean, fuck, honestly, Muteking might have been named after the first Muteking if he was a close friend of the family, like I'm assuming. Vivi might have been involved too, since she was an alien. She had a UFO, and her disco ball in the UFO had all those original Muteking videos in it. And then I have to assume that Muteking's grandmother told literally everyone in his family about the aliens except Muteking. Naomi became weirdly obsessed with the aliens because she didn't really understand the explanation, so she dedicated her life to stopping aliens as a TV alien chaser person, while Muteking's parents were more in the loop about what actually happened, so they went directly to stop the Octians and sort of failed. His dad got captured and sent to Alcatraz, while his mom got trapped living full-time in the fake identity she created. By all accounts, his mom might have been stuck in the role of the CEO's girlfriend for years. And meanwhile, the CEO was originally a happy-go-lucky goofball Octian who made the rickety android Ida based on the original Muteking's disco robot, but out of nowhere, an evil energy source turned him into a dark, evil person and made him become the CEO. And then he used dark, death energy, or whatever the fuck it's called, to build Octank, turn into Muteking Black, turn Ida into a human, and slowly grow his power until finally this year he tried to conquer the world during the events of the show. Which just paints a giant question mark that can only be satisfied by season 2. What the hell originally corrupted the CEO? I have no idea, so I'm just going to randomly point a finger at the bad guys from the original Muteking because there's no other options right now. Okay, so that's how Muteking happened. Now let's go back to that ending, which also requires some interpretation. Now, I fully expected them to purify the CEO in this episode because a few episodes ago they showed that he had an original pure form in the Ida flashback. I wasn't 100% sure they were going to purify him, and I definitely didn't expect them to pull out the full Neon Genesis Evangelion intervention ending and give this dude full therapy, but yeah, that's a way to do it, I guess. If I had to draw some major conclusions, I think between the credits and the post-credit scene, the CEO probably went on a full apology tour, and because now he's a good guy, you don't really get to see or comprehend that, but he probably fixed Ida, and he probably fixed the diner, and he probably put her back to work running the diner. And then there's the weird thing about the art style in the post-credit scene. I think it's possible that this is foreshadowing something that will be explained in season 2. But for now, I can only explain that this credit scene is happening inside Robot Ida's brain. And so now, even though Ida is fixed, I think she's still a rickety robot and has to comprehend things all weird like that. And now, even though she's a robot and not a human, Muteking is continuing to go to the diner out of some sad sense of nostalgia, like, you know, just looking at that old piece of scrap metal and being like, she could have been a mother to me. You know, something like that. Alright, if I'm being real, this last episode, this finale was kind of underwhelming. Muteking has had some really weird stakes, and if I have to be real about it, I think the CEO was actually more dangerous as just himself than he was as Muteking Black, because all Muteking Black could do was seemingly shoot some non-threatening lasers that could push people, and he could dance and I guess make a storm, but then he just got his ass handed to him by Mirror Muteking, who just had to dance back at him. Quite frankly, if the CEO really was serious about taking over the world, he should have just not accepted this dance battle. He could have easily won and conquered the universe, and this isn't even like Guardians of the Galaxy where the dance battle was nonsense to distract him from like being shot in the face. No, this was just, he accepted a dance battle, he lost, and it ruined him. It's really stupid, but it's actually like El Santo logic. Like, do you guys know El Santo? He was the world's greatest wrestler, and so in all his movies, he would force someone to wrestle him who obviously wasn't a wrestler, and then he would defeat them and declare himself the world's greatest wrestler. Same shit with Muteking. Muteking is the world's greatest dancer, so why would you bet everything on a dance battle against Muteking? Whatever. I'm a little bit confused if Vivi died in the end or not. In this episode, it did seem like she really finally died, but since at the end, Muteking reset the world for a happy ending, I think her death was probably reset in the whole process of that, and she's probably going to be alive and well if we get to season 2. I'm confused though what exactly Vivi's plan was though. Was she trying to turn all 4 of her kids into mirror Mutekings? And I guess they just didn't want to do that, or did her mirror ball have some other weird superpowers and it just created mirror Muteking when she threw it at Muteking? Who knows? That's another one of those really vague things. Also, I'm kind of extremely let down that in the end DJ did not turn back into his octopus cat form and in the end just became another Muteking. Like, I am honestly furious that the show really never clarified how that worked or what exactly that thing was. Okay, so time to do a final review for the entire show, Muteking the Dancing Hero. I'm going to be honest and give the show a 7 out of 10. It was a great music-focused superhero show with a really solid center, which is weird because most shows are usually only good at the start and the finish. This show was the opposite. The start was okay, but then it kind of careened off, and the end careened off too, so it was really just the middle that was really solid. I didn't like that the first 4 episodes were Monster of the Day bullshit things, and yeah, the end was a little bit unsatisfying, especially because they never addressed all the weird plot holes they created, all the weird unexplained shit they brought up. But yeah, it was a crazy ride to get there, and I enjoyed it. If anything, this series might be saved by its soundtrack. Almost every episode focused on at least one really good song, and then there were the occasional city pop riffs that were just straight up awesome. But way too many of the battles in the show were just stock footage, and that really put a bad taste in my mouth, especially in the early episodes where I think they overused it. Okay, well, Muteking's finally over. I guess I'm gonna miss it. It was a fun show, but I do feel like this last episode was kind of a mess. I wasn't exactly thrilled with the Evangelion ending the first time I saw it as a kid, and this is kind of weird that this is the first time I've seen a show straight up jack it as an ending. I've seen other shows reference it, but never straight up jack it as an ending. I kind of wish they had had a 13th episode to just set the record straight, clear up a few more mysteries, and at least give the show more of a proper epilogue, since I really thought the show would have a proper epilogue. Muteking is still an option for season 2, so if enough people watch the show, it might happen. And I'm kind of hoping it will happen, or at least we'll get an English dub, since the show is set in America, and I always like watching American set shows in English. Hopefully that'll help it reach a wider audience. Funimation has an option, so I guess they're definitely watching it right now to see how the simulcast goes. So yeah, all in all, Muteking was a better than average show about music, and I like music, so it was okay. Alright guys, I'm your Buster Green. Please subscribe. I don't know if I'm going to cover another anime next season, but so far I've covered Getarobo Arc and now Muteking, so who knows what I'm going to do next? I don't know. So find out. Bye!